Hello, this is Spartan Commander, and this is the 307th Rome Total War Brotherhood game that I've put onto YouTube. Just before I introduce the teams, I've got a small announcement to make. Fanfare, please. I'm amazed and pleased to tell you that this Brotherhood YouTube battle channel has just received over 50,000 views, and I think is a real milestone for our channel. I just say that I think when we first started this this channel, we never thought we'd get to this many views, and I think for a computer game that's over getting on for 13 and a half years old, to get over 50,000, I think the exact number, I just had a look, was 50,101 views. I think, as I say, for such an old computer game, that's really great, and I hope you're all still enjoying watching our Rome Total War battles as much as you ever did, and to get 50,000 views, as I said, I think it's absolutely amazing for such an old game. Okay, the team I'm in today consists of Brotherhood member Crypto, who has hosted this battle on a custom map. As you can see, he has bought the Rome Scipii faction, and I think he's got 15 infantry and 5 cavalry for this battle. Let's say this is a nice custom map. I like to play on custom maps from time to time, something a bit different. Our next teammate is Brotherhood member Legion 22, who has bought his faction of choice, which is Macedon, and I think he's got something like 13 pikes there. Yeah, I've got 13 pikes there, and I think he's got 6 Cretan archers. There we go. If you look at the upgrades on his pikeman there, can you see he's got 8 upgrades? So that's 2 experience stripes, gold shield, gold attack. It makes that infantry very serious infantry. Once again, always like to show you the length of these pikes. Remember, like we said before, Roman generals don't like taking these pikes head on because their troops have to fight down those pikes to kill the man on the other end. So very long pikes those Macedon troops have, same as Seleucid and Pontus. As I say, he's got 6 Cretan archers there to cover his pikes, because of course they're very susceptible to archer fire. And I see he's got 4 upgrades, so I'm thinking there he's probably got gold attack and maybe 1 bronze shield there. So 6 Cretans there to cover his pike units there. And just to show you here, can you see he's got his royal pikeman, the elite pikeman of Macedon, and then he's got the cheap levy pikeman. Now the levy pikemen there are a lot cheaper than the royal pikeman. And if you notice, he's only got 2 upgrades on, which I'm thinking is probably silver shield he's got on there. But as long as they stand their ground, they'll soak up Roman pillars, enemy Roman pillars, as much as any other expensive unit. And just show you the difference. Look, can you see the levy pikemen, how different they look to the royal pikemen there? And as I say, he will use those levy pikemen with their long pikes still as his pillar shield units. Just to show you, he's got a fast moving general unit there. If you notice, he's got 7 upgrades on that general unit. He'll probably use that to hit soft targets like archers and things like that with that particular unit. So I think that's one of Legion 22's tried and tested Macedon armies there, and it should be interesting to see how well it does during the course of the battle. And then we move on to my army here, a Spartan commander who's bought the Rome Scipii faction. Now, just to say, over the last 6 months or so, I've been playing with this old army, which is about 9 years old. 12 infantry and 6 cavalry. Quite a small army for the modern day battlefield, but this army is tried and tested. Most of the units have got an experience stripe on, and I find in some battles that experience stripe really makes a difference towards the end of the battle. And it'll be interesting to see how well this small army does during the course of the battle. If you notice, this map slopes gently from right to left. Down there it's quite level, but here you can see that the ground does slope slightly from right to left. So maybe getting the higher ground might be a tactical advantage for us there. But we just have to see how the battle unfolds to see whether we're going to grab the high ground or whether the enemy will. This has got the ingredients to be a great battle, and I really hope you enjoy it. And here is the other team. We have Brotherhood member Cal, who's bought the Rome Brutii faction. If you notice there, he's got 5 cavalry. I think he's got about 7 upgrades on each cavalry unit there. Looks pretty good. And notice he's in wedge formation there for penetration there. And then we have his infantry. I think he's got 15 infantry and 5 cavalry there, I believe. So that'd be interesting to see how well that army does. And then we move on to a player who's called himself Eagle, but is in fact Scorpion King SR, and he has bought the Rome SPQR faction. A Scorpion King SR with his SPQR faction. And if you notice straight away, this is a custom specialized built army here. And if you notice, he's got 6, I think it's 6 archers. Look at the upgrades on those archers there. I think he's got an experience stripe, gold shield, gold attack on those archers. So those are quite serious archers there. As I say, 7 upgrades, experience stripe, gold shield, gold attack, and those Roman archers have got good range and can do a lot of damage. But that is a lot of archers to bring to the modern day battlefield. And then in contrast, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 infantry. He's only got 8 infantry, which is incredibly a low amount of infantry to bring to the modern day battlefield. But if you notice, each of his infantry units have got 7 upgrades on. So that's an experience stripe, gold shield, gold attack. So those infantry are pretty tough, but there are only 8 of them. And then he's got 6 cavalry units there as well. And if you notice, those cavalry units have only got gold shield, gold attack on. Okay, so if you notice, I've noticed in the last couple of months we seem to be having specialist custom armies built for particular battles, and this is no exception. This is a custom army built by Scorpion King SR for a particular reason. And if we have a look at the battlefield, across the battlefield there, you can see why he's built this army. This army is specifically built to fight this Macedon faction, our allies' Macedon faction there. Remember, those pike units are incredibly susceptible to archer fire and will suffer a lot of casualties if he uses those archers wisely, and he can cause a lot of damage to them. Okay, they've got the Cretan archers to cover their pikes there, but those 6 archers of Scorpion King will do a lot of damage to those pikes. And as I say, he's only got 8 infantry, but they got good upgrades on as well. So I'm just thinking that he feels that that army is just the right army to take on our Macedon ally there. Be interesting to see if that does happen as the battle unfolds. Right, their third teammate is someone who's called himself Titans. I think it's Tathes, I think. But so the players in this game said they think it's Thor. So I think it's RTW player Thor, but to be honest with you, I'm not quite sure who it is, but that's who the other players thought it was. And if you noticed, what's he got? 4, 6, 12. He's got 14 infantry and 6 cavalry. So he's got the bog standard 31k Roman army there. So there's the other team. This should be a great one for you to watch, and I hope you enjoy it. Okay, do you remember we looked at this map earlier, and we know that the map slopes from right to left, with the higher ground being on the right side of the map. It's only slightly higher, but there is a slight advantage there with the ground. And if you notice that Cal is taking his Brutii army up to the higher ground there, up to the right hand side of the map, looking at it from our team's perspective there. But if you notice that both Scorpion King and Cal's army have moved over to our right flank here, and we're going to move over to that right flank as well here, I'm thinking. But if you notice that the other enemy teammate is right down the other side of the battlefield. Okay, so as you can see here, Crypto and Legion and myself have seen that there's 2 enemy armies here, Scorpion King and Cal. Now, what do you think our game plan is? What do you think our early stage of game plan is? And there are other allies a long way away. So what we're thinking here is, if we take all 3 of our armies over here, we would have a 3-on-2 battle here. 3-on-2 battle. So we might be able to take out Scorpion King as SR's SPQR army and Cal's Brutia army with our 3 armies here before their ally can get over. As I say, their ally is a long, long way away, and if we move fast, we might be able to take these guys out here and before the ally gets across. So that was our initial battle plan. Okay, that's what we would like to do here if we can. But whether we're going to move fast enough to do that, I'm not sure. Because if you notice that Cal and Scorpion King have kept quite a distance between our armies there. So for us to get over there and do the damage and attack like we want to do, it's going to take longer. Their ally that is far away at the moment is getting closer with every second. As I say, Cal's moving up here, trying to get onto that slightly higher ground on the map. As you can see, it does just slightly slope down from right to left there. He'd only have a small advantage, but that's what he's going for there. I remember here this time, I think Crypto was shouting, "Get them, get them!" as fast as he could. Like, he was writing that down as fast as he could. Quick attack these two, and of course Legion and myself then start moving towards these two, because, as I say, the initial battle plan here, the very early battle plan, is to try and take these two enemy armies out by using sheer weight of numbers of our 3 armies against 2. But we're going to have to move very fast, because every second their ally is getting closer to this part of the battlefield. So if you notice here, what I want to do is take my army, if I can, round the flank of Cal and get up onto this slightly higher ground. So I will then have like a slight downhill charge bonus there. That's what I'm thinking of, because, as I say, speed is the essence here. Once we've decided on what we're going to do, we need to move fast and try and take these two armies out before their ally gets across, if we can. But as I say, their ally's moving over, and as I say, every second counts at the moment, because he's moving closer and closer towards his allies here. What might be a wise move for both Scorpion King and Cal is to move their troops back. Keep moving back. Don't come into contact with us. And that will give more time for their ally to get across. Maybe that might be a good tactical move to do that. But as I said, I'm taking my blue Scipio army, this old Scipio army of mine, up around that higher ground to get onto the flank of Cal's green Brutii army there. Right, let's just pause the game for a second. If you notice now, Cal's moving back towards his SPQR ally, as I'm taking my Scipio army up onto that right flank there. If you notice that Crypto and Legion 22 are both aggressively moving towards Scorpion King's SPQR army. I see their ally there has brought his cavalry over there, but his infantry is still quite a long way away. So if we move fast, and if the enemy stands still and let us hit them, then we could still do a lot of damage. And if possible, as I say, try and take those two armies out. Let's say I'm going for this slightly higher ground here. I want to get onto the flank of Cal's army there, so I'll get a slight downhill charge bonus when I go into them there. As I say, Crypto and Legion 22 there, they've got to try and hit. If you notice there, can you see that Scorpion King's bringing his SPQR army back? He's falling back, so he's not coming into contact with them as much as we'd want. As I say, we want to get in contact with them to use our weight of numbers to try and take out these two armies with R3. So as you can see here, moving my army, Cal's moved his Brutii infantry back towards his SPQR ally here. So they have now formed up together. They're no longer separate. But if you notice that Crypto and Legion 22 are still trying to push forward, they're still trying to engage the troops. But wisely, if you notice, Cal and Scorpion King are pulling back, giving their ally more time to get over there. But their ally is going around the rear of our troops here, which is obviously making him take longer to get over to this part of the battlefield. So, as I say, can you see Legion 22 running his pikes forward? He runs his pikes forward, make contact with the enemy, bang, put his pikes down. But if you notice here, can you see that Cal's green Brutii cavalry have charged in? If you notice that Crypto's countered that cavalry charge with his own blue Scipio cavalry, but can you notice that the enemy SPQR cavalry is coming over there as well? And I'm thinking they're going to charge into the rear of Crypto's cavalry. In fact, they might even, and there's a Scorpion King's SPQR cavalry coming in as well, and bang, as that SPQR cavalry hits. And now Thor's SPQR cavalry hits, and bang, as that goes in. Right, just pause the game for a second. So here, poor old Crypto's cavalry has been sandwiched by 2 lots of SPQR cavalry here. And how long he'll hold, I don't know. If you notice that Thor has put a couple of his cavalry units over there to try and take out our Mastodon allies' archers there. So that was a nice combination hit. 4 units into Crypto's cavalry and 2 units over to the archers. But as I say, Scorpion King's SPQR cavalry is charging as well. As I say, you can see Crypto's Scipio troops advancing on the enemy SPQR infantry, as well as Legion 22's Mastodon infantry advancing as well. As I say, we're going to try our best to take out these 2 armies before their ally gets across here. But whether we'll be able to do that or not, I don't know, because their cavalry seems to be very strong there. And poor old Crypto's cavalry has been caught in a sandwich. And don't forget, these archers are shooting into our troops all the time, causing casualties. But as you can see here, I've got my Scipio infantry and cavalry up to where I wanted it to be, on that slightly higher ground. And as I say, that old saying, speed is the essence here, time is the essence. We need to move fast. Crypto's cavalry is holding quite well. As you can see, a lot of the Mastodon archers are being routed by that cavalry. Okay, so basically all of Crypto's cavalry now, I think most have been taken out. He's thrown some infantry units in there as well, but I think most of Crypto's cavalry has just been taken out there. So the enemy now, I believe, from what I can see, are cavalry dominant. There's only my 6 cavalry left against the enemy's cavalry here. So the enemy are now, as I say, cavalry dominant, and their ally, their SPQR ally, is moving in fast here behind us. So maybe we didn't move as fast as we'd like to have there to try and take out these 2 armies, but we're still going to try and press on with that. Right, if you notice here, I've got my Scipio army there closing in on Cal's army, but if you notice here, I've charged my cavalry in. Now I'm going for the rear of those engaged enemy SPQR units. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and smash through the front rank of Cal's Brutii infantry into the rear of those engaged SPQR infantry, and bang, as that cavalry hits. As I say, I'd like to rout some of that SPQR infantry there, but as I say, I have to go through those Brutii infantry first, which will kind of take the sting out of the attack. Okay, I've charged my cavalry in. I've got the full cavalry charge bonus. I know we've talked about that a lot, but it's very important. I've got the full cavalry charge bonus. I'm now pulling my cavalry back. I'm going to rally them and get ready to charge in again. Okay, if you notice, I'm moving my infantry forward in an aggressive way now to engage Cal's infantry. If you notice here, can you see Scorpion King's SPQR cavalry are going to charge straight into Crypto's engaged infantry, and bang, as that cavalry hits. Now maybe if that cavalry was in wedge formation, they might have got better penetration there, but they were just in the ordinary flat formation. Right, as you can see, let's pause the game for a second here. So there's a lot going on in the middle of the battlefield here, where Crypto and Legion is still pressing forward against the enemy SPQR troops. But if you notice, Cal's got some infantry round here that he's going to try and flank our Mastodon ally with, and the other enemy SPQR infantry that they've been waiting for ages is now right here in the battle. If you notice, Legion's turned some Mastodon units to face the threat, but when those units start throwing pilots, he's going to lose a lot of men there with his units. So there's a general overview of the battle as it stands at the moment. If you notice, Scorpion King's cavalry hit there, must have done a lot of damage, but he didn't rout any units. Right, can you see I'm charging my cavalry in, and bang, as that cavalry hits. If you notice there, that Scorpion King SR has turned his cavalry to face my cavalry charge, but I've just routed the SPQR general there, and a lot of the enemy Brutii and SPQR troops are now routing. So that was a nice cavalry hit there by my Scipio cavalry there. Just did what I wanted it to do there. So now we've routed most of the enemy Brutii troops and most of the enemy SPQR cavalry at this stage of the battle. They may well rally. We'll have to wait and see there. Like, you see some more Brutii cavalry charging in there.
General is running away. This is no way for a leader to behave, but in battle, it's beyond belief.
But I think they were quite battle damaged anyway. So both Crypto and my armies there are pushing forward. Right, let's just pause the game for a second. So as you can see, we've routed most of the Brutii army there, and a lot of the SPQR army has been routed as well. I've got my army and Crypto's army there are both attacking. There you can see Crypto's army and mine there, and then our teammate Legion 22 has then moved his Mastodon troops over to engage the enemy SPQR troops there. So say there's a lot of pilots that would gone into Legion 22's infantry there, but they're doing very good, and the SPQR cavalry is away chasing down Mastodon archers at the moment. So that's quite good for us. Okay, now remember those SPQR archers of Scorpion Kings, they were quite well upgraded, and they've been shooting at us all the time, so it would be a good idea to try and take them out. If you see, can you see that Scorpion King's charged his cavalry back in again? being very aggressive with his cavalry, but they were all battle damaged, and I think they were rallied cavalry as well, so they, as I say, they would have been very battle damaged, and their morale would have been low as well. And I see Scorpion King, I think, has now admitted defeat at this stage of the battle. So all of Scorpion King's SBQR army has now been routed, and will be leaving the battlefield as he's just admitted defeat. So meanwhile here, both Crypto and myself are moving around the flank of the last enemy SBQR army here. This should just be a kind of a bit of a formality now. You can see our teammate Legion 22 is engaging the forward units of the enemy SBQR infantry, and Crypto and myself will just move around the flank. And as I say, this should kind of just be a formality now of just kind of rolling the enemy troops up. So we've got all of Crypto's, you know, Crypto's army, my army, and Mastodon army there against this one army there. Right, you see, I believe it's Thor's moving his SBQR troops forward against our troops there. But I would like to draw your attention here to that enemy cavalry moving across. That enemy cavalry is still basically intact. And if you notice that I've moved my cavalry away from any engagement with that cavalry, because all my cavalry is extremely battle damaged. Right, let's just pause the game for a second here. Now, if we look at Crypto's army, can you see his troops are exhausted? His troops are, and if you see here, his troops are very exhausted here. And you can see his troops, because my troops, Scipio troops, you can see the white kind of wolf on the flag, whereas his troops you can't. But all his troops are either very tired or exhausted, which makes them incredibly susceptible to routing. Exhausted troops' morale is extremely low, and if they get hit by any sudden impact, it can cause a mass rout. So you must be very careful of that, because Crypto's army has been fighting for a long time, so that's why they're so exhausted. You notice Legion 22 here is fighting some of the SBQR players' units up here that he's put into Testudo. Remember, Testudo is the common formation to put your Roman infantry in when you're fighting pikes there, as it slows down the pike's advance and also breaks up the pike formation as well. So Legion 22 is doing very good here in his aggressive attack towards those SBQR units. But as I say, I'm very worried here about Crypto's infantry. They are exhausted, and if they get hit hard by any attack, they could rout. Right, can you see that SBQR cavalry coming in? Bang, as that cavalry hits. Now you watch the penetration with that wedge formation. You watch that cavalry penetrate deep into our lines there. Really aggressive attacking there from that cavalry. And look what's happened with that one cavalry attack. The whole dynamic of the battle has now changed. That enemy cavalry attack, plus we've got Brutii infantry coming in behind us. Right, that cavalry attack now has basically routed all of Crypto's army. Now remember, we were just looking at his army, all exhausted or very tired. Well, that hit by that cavalry there has made his troops rout. Remember, when troops are exhausted, they their morale is very low. If you notice here, Cal's rallied some of his green Brutii troops and have come in behind us as well. So what looked like a formality of our team winning this battle, because of our numbers, has just been completely changed here by that cavalry attack. As I say, all of Crypto's army now has been routed. We got the green enemy Brutii infantry coming in behind us now. And all of a sudden, as I say, what looked like a formality has now completely changed. Legion 22 is still advancing towards the enemy SBQR Testudo troops there. But here, as I say, we've just... things have just changed so dramatically here. As I say, I think probably our team was thinking to ourselves, well, okay, we'll just finish this battle off pretty quick and get back into the lobby and get another one going. But that was some massive cavalry attack into exhausted troops. And new players watching this is a great example to show you why you should try not to fight with exhausted troops if you can possibly help it, because they are incredibly susceptible in routing. Right, the SBQR cavalry's going in again, and bang, as that cavalry hits. Now remember, this old army of mine, as I say, it's about 9 years old. It is tried and tested, and the units that are left now are probably the ones with experience stripes on. Okay, let's just pause the game for a second. So as you can see here, you got Brutii infantry coming in behind us. We've got SBQR infantry fighting at the front, and SBQR cavalry charging in there. So things are really looking difficult for us now on this particular flank. You see some of my units are routing. I think those units that are routing now are probably the Polar Shield units that I've used that haven't got a stripe on, but my other units are still holding. But as you can see here, the enemy are now cavalry dominant. Now those cavalry could be pivotal to the outcome of this battle, because if he keeps charging those cavalry and he gets a full cavalry charge bonus each time. And if you notice, can you notice that he's got slightly higher ground? Can you see that he's coming in from slightly higher ground there? So he's getting a downhill cavalry charge bonus as well as his usual cavalry charge bonus. So as I say here, I'm fighting Brutii infantry coming in behind, and I'm fighting SBQR infantry in front, plus SBQR cavalry that keeps charging in all the time. You see Legion 22 with his Mastodon units here are still fighting the SBQR units that they're up against as well. Right, okay, so the Macedon General, our allies' Macedon General has just been killed. Now, we've watched other battle videos, we know Macedon morale is not very good, but now their general has been killed. They could be extremely susceptible to routing. If that cavalry, enemy cavalry, gets in behind them, those units could all mass rout. If one or two of them start routing, they could all mass rout, and then that SBQR infantry that's fighting Macedon will then be able to come down here and attack what's left of my troops. So Legion 22, I really hope he can hold up there, bearing in mind that his general's just been taken out. Otherwise things are going to look pretty bad for us. Right, can you see the SBQR cavalry coming in again, looking to get a downhill charge bonus plus a cavalry charge bonus? Can you see me charging my infantry forward there? I charged my infantry forward there to try and get an infantry charge bonus to try and neutralise that cavalry charge bonus that they've got. If you notice that Cal's throwing in his Brutii infantry at the same time in behind my troops, it's like a hammer and anvil attack, with Cal's green Brutii troops being the anvil and those SBQR cavalry being the hammer. But veterans watching this, I'm sure you agree, if my troops were just gold, I'm sure they would have routed by now. But that experience stripe, I say new players watching this, yes, I've got a small army, but what I've done, I've traded quantity for quality with having an experience stripe on my infantry, and that's why they're still managing to hold. I see there's another SBQR cavalry attack coming in, and bang, as that cavalry attack hits. As I say, I'm definitely sure if my troops were just gold, they would have routed a long time ago now. So this, I'm just trying to show newer players that experience stripe on those units really does make a difference. Let's just pause the game for a second. Right, can you see a lot of the Macedon units are starting to rout now? And that's a bad sign for our team. The general unit's routed, there's other Macedon units routed as well. And I fear that our Macedon ally there's units might start chain routing, and that's the last thing we want. We're just holding on here by the skin of our teeth at this particular part of the battlefield, and that cavalry keeps moving back. It's like the hammers pull back on the rifle, and he keeps pulling that trigger, and that cavalry keeps charging in. Each time that cavalry hits, causing me more casualties, lowering the morale of my troops. As I say, we seem to have routed most of the SBQR infantry we were fighting there, and it's just Cal's green Brutii infantry that is attacking us now. So what I'm doing now is I'm concentrating on that Brutii cavalry, because I noticed that the SBQR cavalry has been pulled away for once, which I'm very glad to see. He's probably looking to hit into the rear of some of Legion 22's fighting infantry here with his cavalry. So I'm glad he's pulled that cavalry away, because that leaves my infantry free now to try and take out Cal's two Brutii units. Okay, I can see one of Legion 22's Macedon units that is engaged. It wouldn't surprise me if the cavalry smashed into the rear, and that's this unit here on the end. Can you see? It wouldn't surprise me if that cavalry charged in, and my guess is that Macedon unit will almost break on impact. Bang, that cavalry, and there you go. That Macedon unit has now been red, and that was a nice surgical hit there by the SBQR player there with his cavalry. Right, if you notice here, he's back to charging into my units again. And bang, as that cavalry hits straight into the flank of my Scipio troops, routing one of my units almost immediately. Okay, it looks like we just managed to take out the green Brutii general there, but if you notice my units, if you notice I'm keeping my units concentrated. Now that's a key when you start getting cavalry attacks come into you. Keep your units concentrated. And that's what I'm trying to do here against SBQ cavalry attacks and plus that Brutii infantry as well. Let's say we're just holding on by the skin of our teeth here at this particular part of the battlefield. You see Cal's Brutii infantry, he's been very aggressive with those units. Okay, so his general unit's just been routed now, so that leaves one other unit left. If I can just take that unit out, then I can then move my troops up towards my Mastodon ally to try and help him out. There's a close-up of the fighting. Can you see it? I'm running my troops forward now. Okay, the enemy SBQ general has just been taken out, so of course that's going to lower the morale of his troops. Right, you see he's charging his remaining cavalry into my running infantry, and bang, as that cavalry hits, throwing some of my troops up in the air there. But once again, my infantry still holding there just about against that those SBQ troops. Notice say new players to Rome Total War, you might notice that this old army of mine is usually the smallest Roman army on the battlefield by far, and yet because I've traded quantity for quality, it's done quite well. Okay, the first thing I'd like to say is really well played to everybody in the game there. I think that really that should have been a close victory to me. I think from the way that what troops we had left and how many troops we'd lost, I thought that should have been very close. Just like to draw your attention to this player here who we think is Thor. 2,237 kills, and that's what you get if you fight big 120 man units. You can really pump up your kills there, so really well done to him. But just like to draw your attention, let's say I've got the smallest army on the battlefield by far, 200 less, nearly 200 less than any other Roman general, and yet I've managed to kill 1,987. That's only 13 kills shy of 2,000 kills fighting 81 man units in a 3v3 battle. I'm not saying this to make myself look big or anything like that, but I'm just saying that that small army I've traded quantity for quality. So it's not maybe the size of the army that you bring, it's how you use it and your army build. If you notice here, Cal and Scorpion King didn't get great kills. That's because we hit them quite hard and fast. Crypto, of course, when his infantry got smashed by that cavalry hit there, he didn't get as many kills as he would have liked to have either. But he did a very good job at killing a lot of the enemy troops there. So I'd just like to say I hope you enjoyed this battle, and it's kind of a celebration of our over 50,000 views. As I say, I'm absolutely amazed that we got those that many views for such an old computer game. And as I say, I hope this battle is a great one for you to remember for our 50,000 views. This Spartan Commander saying see you soon and bye for now.